Hi, everybody. We're just going to give everyone maybe another minute to start. And we'll welcome members of the community too at that time.
Eileen, I just wanted you to know that I am taking the minutes. I said I would do it the last time, and so I'm doing it today.
You are a rock star. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay.
I'm eating my dinner, so I'm gonna go off camera for like 5 minutes, but I'm here listening.
Sounds good. Yeah, maybe we'll just give everyone like another minute or so.
Eileen, were you able to connect with Fred, the man who wants to buy some signs from us?
I actually just sent you a message. I don't have enough to sell him. Do you think you could head to the town hall and see what's in storage this week?
I know there's some in storage. How many do you have?
I think I have 4.
Oh, I'm sure we have another 4.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, happy to.
I'm just not sure which day I'm going to make it there, but I will try to do it tomorrow.
Was there a rush?
Well, he actually asked for them yesterday. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't help you because I don't have them.
Yeah.
I said, I will put you in contact with the person who does.
Cool. All right. Well, I feel like we've got a good number of people, so maybe we should start. And so I want to call to order this meeting on November 15th of the Wakefield Human Rights Commission. I know that in our last meeting, we agreed to start the meetings with our land acknowledgement. And so I am happy to go ahead and read that. And then we can sort of take attendance and then check in and do some other fun stuff too. So good to see everybody. Thanks for joining. The Wakefield Human Rights Commission acknowledges that the land we now call Wakefield are the ancestral homelands of the Massachusetts people who have been the caretakers of the unceded land for centuries and will continue to be for centuries to come. We are settlers. The Massachusetts people have been tirelessly striving for human rights, even in the face of land theft, genocide, and forced removal. The work we do to build a more unified, equal, and diverse community grows out of the efforts, leadership, and guidance of countless Native communities. We commit to honoring this continued Native activism as we do our work. In doing so, we dedicate time in our meetings throughout the year to help educate those in the community about the Native people of Massachusetts, past, present, and their work towards the future. We stand with the Massachusetts Indigenous legislative agenda in celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day in place of Columbus Day. All right, so maybe we should start by taking some attendance. I see Sherry Oken.
Here.
Ashley Carter.
Here.
Thanks, Ashley. Benny Wheat.
I am here. I'll be off video soon.
Okay. Daniela Abdelic.
Here.
Reverend Elizabeth.
Here.
Jeremy Little.
Here.
Teresa Aravena Gonzalez.
Here.
Marion Butt. And then we also have a member of the community, but really our next door neighbor in Melrose, Jen Champagne, who's joining us to say hello and also to sort of introduce herself and talk a little bit about the Melrose Human Rights Commission as well. So Jen, I'll let you sort of jump in here if you want, just to talk a little bit about your group and maybe how long you've been there and that kind of thing.
Sure. Thanks, Eileen, and thanks everyone for having me. My name's Jen. I am relatively new to the Melrose Human Rights Commission, just started this year in March, and just began as vice chair this month, first meeting. So I met Eileen and I think a couple others at the event that you guys hosted for decolonizing contributions of Indigenous peoples. It was a great event, and I guess I'm just hoping to get to know all of you, and what the Wakefield Human Rights Commission is doing and what issues you guys are facing, and maybe how we could collaborate on future events, and maybe discuss and talk about how we're handling issues in each city.
That's great. Thank you so much for joining. We have also made a connection with Reading as well. And so, Jen, we can introduce you to that individual there. There's one person that sort of works like we do here and you do in Melrose. And so I think trying to do more events as like a tri-city will help all of us when it comes to volunteerism and activities and those kinds of things. So
That would be great. Thank you.
when are your meetings?
The second Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. So we
Okay.
just had our meeting last week.
And are they live or are they recorded?
We're back in person.
Okay. Great. And are they held in the town hall there?
Yes, we're in the City Hall on the second floor in the Cassidy room.
Great.
So anyone's welcome.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I also see Jessica Sudich, and Jess and I spoke about a week or so ago. Jess is interested in participating a little more in the community and working with the Human Rights Commission. And so Jess, you're welcome to, if you want to introduce yourself. We give the community members three exact minutes to say hello. But if you're comfortable with that, otherwise you could totally ignore me and that would be fine too.
Oh, no, I won't ignore you. I'm not going to put my video on though, because I didn't attach my camera and I just saw the preview of myself and I don't want to share that with you. I blame it on our toddler. So my wife and I just moved to Wakefield in August. Full reveal, she is also here in the room. And I saw the possibility of getting involved with the committee or the commission, and I would love to do that. We have a 2-year-old and we are trying to get involved as much as possible in the community just to, you know, help meet people and help out with all the projects that you guys have going on. So I am here to just listen in right now.
That's great. We love having you. And there will definitely be opportunities to work with us.
I think I've probably spoken with a couple of you at different Wakefield 101s and such. So you may see us around.
That's great. Welcome to Wakefield.
Thanks.
Okay. Anyone else? No, I think that's it. Should we jump right into let's do sort of an introduction or a check-in for everybody. I sort of did this a little out of order. I hope that's all right with everyone, but so I was thinking for this month the check-in could be, you know, if there's something, you know, this is the time of year where we all tend to sort of give back to the community, right? We should try and do it more often, but you know, November tends to be that way. And so if there's an organization maybe that, you know, you donate to, or you donate your time outside of the HRC that you'd like to highlight, it would be great. So I'll go first and then I'll pick someone and then that person goes first. Maureen should go first, actually. Go ahead, you go first. Yeah.
You can go. I just need to be earlier. So you
Oh,
go.
all
first.
right. All right. I'll go and then you go. And then you pick someone and disappear.
Amazing.
Okay, so this is the time of year where I tend to sort of make donations or help with food drives for an organization called GLASS. It's the Justice Resource Institute. It's out in Roxbury. And and it's a great organization that sort of focuses on LGBTQIA individuals of color, teenagers to young adults. They put on lots of activities, and we've done some food drives individually in my home, and through the pandemic, we've done less of that, but done more of sort of the donations for them. But it's a great place for those individuals to have sort of a safe place to be and make connections and enjoy, you know, each other's company in sort of a safe, warm area. And their offices are great, and they're over. I think they were originally in JP, but I think now they've moved over to Roxbury. So, all right, Maureen, you're up.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry, I have another meeting at the same time, so I told Eileen I needed to be quick. Maureen, but Wakefield Town Councilor Jessica, welcome to Wakefield. So excited to have you and your family jump right in. Looking forward to meeting you in person soon. I love this question, Eileen, when you sent it to me. So last year, Wakefield does a lot of work with the Malden Warming Center, which during the winter months feeds people, clothes people, and is open at night during the winter. They're always looking for volunteers, always looking for donations, but they do a community dinner in Thanksgiving. And so they look for community members to donate turkeys, to roast turkeys and donate them. And so me and my sister did it for the first time last year. And it was really fun to cook it together on Wednesday and then go down there and drop it off. I haven't seen it posted yet, but hopefully that will be soon. And then I'm going to take Councilor Prerogative for a second because I do have to leave. I just wanted to come on here and say you all are doing an amazing job. The Indigenous people events were great. Just above and beyond each event and everything that you are doing. The Hispanic Heritage Month was amazing. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of you and congratulations on just an amazing year that isn't done yet, but thank you all. And I'm going to pass it to Nicole because I saw she joined.
Okay, I'm Nicole. Maureen, actually, I got a flyer for that, for the dinner for the warming center, so I can forward it to you for the and what we're saying, organizations that we might want to donate to. Well, I've been a part of this group. It's called the Urban Farming Institute, and it's in Dorchester, and they have a farm there, and they do charge, but then it's some like what pay what you can, and they do a lot of free online cooking classes about different I'm sorry, I can't even think. So like they would have like a Haitian person there teaching about Haitian cooking. I'm sorry, my brain is just fried right now. And so they do a lot, like they just had a Peruvian chef that came on and did an hour long teaching about the food and a cooking class. So I've been being a part of that. So that's my one that I like. And I'll pass it to, did everybody go except for me? Oh, no one went? Okay, Benny.
Thanks, Nicole. My name is Benny. I go by she, her, and hers. Let's see. I will say that one group that I've been particularly involved with recently and that I try to give generously to with my time and my money is called Families for Justice as Healing, which is a prison abolition group headquartered in the Humboldt neighborhood of Roxbury, but also like working throughout the state and in conjunction with other similar organizations in other states. So do a lot of work with them. They're like just incredibly inspiring. So they are run by currently and formerly incarcerated women, and like are led by the vision of those women towards a future where we don't have to destroy families in order to have safety and like healthy communities. So that's my plug. Families for Justice as Healing. Check them out. How about you, Teresa?
I'm taking notes in everybody's organizations. So my name is Teresa, and I am what do I don't really have an organization, and I feel really bad now. I feel guilty. I do different things for just random things, but now I guess I should kind of focus more on that. So, but I'm taking notes on everybody's stuff. So this sounds good. So thank you for sharing.
You want to pick somebody else?
Yeah, sorry. Daniela?
So I so there's a couple of things I can't choose between, but I don't know if folks know about Amazon Smile. If you do use Amazon, but I portion not necessarily out of yours, but I think it comes from Amazon, will go towards an organization of your choice as long as you use the Smile link or on the app. And for me, I go towards the Trevor Project, which it focuses on suicide prevention efforts for people of the queer community. And then just like physically, when I go out and do things, I do try to not just spring clean, but kind of like fall clean too. And I donate all my stuff towards the Epilepsy Foundation via Savers. And when my husband or I have, say, coats or sweaters or vests, especially anything that's like waterproof, I'll fill the pockets up with, like power bars or any sort of like proteins and snacks. And whenever I walk around in the cities and I see someone who is unhoused, I'll ask them if they want it, and then I usually give it to them. I generally don't have cash on me, so whenever, say, we're at the traffic light and there's they have the sign, I'll usually like roll down my window and I have snacks like for them. Or if I can, in the clothes are in the front seat, then I do that, because this time of year it gets really cold and I know that it's a struggle for them. Ashley, would you like to go?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm the high school student representative. I'm a senior. One organization that I donate to a lot is called DKMS. I'm not quite sure what it stands for, but it's a specific organization that works on like blood disorders and blood cancers. I have essential thrombocythemia, so this like is an organization that means a lot to me. So they do like a lot of work like internationally as well, and they focus a lot specifically on women because they're like women are typically more likely to get blood cancers and blood disorders. So they focus a lot on helping people like that and raising money just for treatments and research. I've donated my blood before to help research, and I really like it. I also, my family does a lot of food drives. We'll like donate to food drives, same with at school, like every single year, like our homerooms will like have like the food drive bins, which I always like helping out with. But yeah, that's about it. I don't know if there's anyone else left to go. Elizabeth, yeah.
Thanks, Ashley. One of the organizations that I think about is the Siemens Church Institute. So 90% of everything that is imported into the United States comes through our shipping ports. And Siemens Church Institute supports seafarers working on board those boats. For a lot of seafarers from many countries, working on board a boat is a really, really great source of income and a really stable source of income. And it's really hard to be trapped on a boat for like 6 months out of a time. The United States does not participate in the international treaty that allows seafarers to get off the boats without visas. So sometimes they are denied visas, or even with visas denied access in port. Siemens Church Institute brings folks cell phones and like calling cards and all sorts of things that help the seafarers connect to their families. And they also do a toiletries drive, and they do things by mail. So while SCI is located primarily in Port Newark and Port Elizabeth, just outside of New York City, they do things by mail and they collect toiletries. So if you are one of those folks who spends a lot of time in hotels, either for vacation or for work, snagging those toiletries and just collecting a box over time and sending them into SCI is really, really welcomed. And they also do a hat and scarf drive around this time of year to provide hand knitted items to help seafarers stay warm throughout the winter, because their work is outdoors and it is brutally, brutally cold. So that's one that I think of that can be given to with limited time, because you don't need to commit hours and you can do it in your own time from your own home, and also can be accessible if you've got some financial limitations.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that.
And I'll pass it on to Jeremy.
Yeah, so there's one fund we give to every year at the end of the year, and that's it's actually called the Angel Fund. It's located here in Wakefield. It's actually supports ALS research. So I've actually worked personally with Dr. Brown at UMass, who does a lot of the work, and this is a foundation that supports him. So that's one, and the other one is we always participate. You know, our church in Stoneham does a Salvation Army toy drive for Christmas, so we always grab a couple things there and do that. And so those are two of my favorites this time of year. So Sherry, have you gone yet? I don't think so.
Not yet. I, both personally and professionally, people I care very much about have been affected by Alzheimer's disease. And more than just this time of the year, but also at this time of the year, I always make a donation. And in the hope that someday they will be able to find definitively the cause and then perhaps the prevention for this horrible disease that makes people we love disappear before our very eyes. And then today, I dropped 2 enormous bags of clothes off at the Congregational Church for their clothing closet, because next Sunday, this coming Sunday, they're having a big dinner and free clothing closet for anyone who needs it. So if you have at this time clothing that you want to donate, they would definitely appreciate that. They would appreciate it any time of the year, but they're doing a particularly big event this coming Sunday on the 20th.
That's great. We don't typically open it up to the community, but Jess and Jen, if you want to throw in an organization that you typically work with, I would say we'll pretend for a second that that is not happening and we will let you do it.
Thanks, Eileen. I'll throw in one really quick. This time of year, especially, I like to support Melrose Kind. It's a local organization started by our neighbors, and they partner with a lot of different local groups. But in November, we have Melrose Random Act of Kindness Day on November 20th. So this week is a week of random act of kindness, and you can be assigned a project or a mission, a kindness mission. And then, of course, donating clothes this time of year is always a favorite.
Since I am newly local, it's really great to hear all of the things that are around here to do, especially clothing donations and food donation and things like that. That's the sort of thing we're looking for. More broadly, I donate to Sandy Hook Promise and Everytown and the Southern Poverty Law Center. For all of the reasons that you might think.
That's great. Thanks, everyone. This is fantastic. Maybe we can, after we look at the meeting minutes, we could sort of send out to our distribution list, the email to share with everyone that is interested, and maybe put it on our Facebook page too.
Oh, I did not write everything down because it's not part of our business of the
Oh, it's okay.
HRC.
Why don't we
Sorry.
have everyone email the HRC email, and then I'll just compile them and send them along. No worries, Sherry, totally fine. No problem. Okay. Should we jump right into the approval of minutes? We have a couple of them. The first is the September meeting minutes.
And I got your edits, Sherry, to the September minutes. So there's some edits that I will include in what I send in.
That's great. Does someone want to make a motion to accept the minutes? Approve the minutes?
I make a motion to accept the minutes
Any seconds?
Second,
of the September general meeting.
Any seconds them? Great, thank you. I was not there, but we can go to vote. So first is Sherry,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Daniela,
I wasn't.
Teresa, yes.
yeah.
Did you miss it last
Yeah.
time?
Yeah, I
Okay,
was-
sorry about that.
No worries.
Benny,
Yeah,
Nicole, were you at the September meeting? Yes, okay.
Yes.
Teresa
Yes.
and
Yes.
Elizabeth.
Yes.
Thank you. Ashley, you weren't at the September meeting, right?
I was not.
Okay, great. Perfect, thank you, everybody. And then the next set of minutes are the IPD meeting minutes for September 24th. Benny, were you by yourself in this meeting?
well, it was me and Terry.
Terry?
Yeah.
Can you approve your own meeting
I
minutes?
do approve them.
Excellent. No one else can second, right?
I guess not.
All right,
No,
well, can we also
we
take
can
your
second,
second?
we can
We
second, we
can't
just
vote.
can't vote. So I second the approval.
Great. And then Benny votes for her own minutes.
I do. There's other ones
job,
besides
Benny.
that meeting though.
Say it again.
There's other minutes from IPD besides that one. Do you have the other ones?
I only had the September one.
Well, maybe I should send you the others. There's like 4 of them, I think.
Okay, and we can approve them at the next one. That's
Yeah,
fine.
I'll send them to you now.
Perfect, thank you. Next is to go into a budget review. So I connected with Daniela and spoke with Maureen and Steve and sort of talked about setting a budget for 2023. So when Daniela and I originally met with him, he sort of gave us like the don't worry too much about this kind of a thing. And so since that conversation, it's been a little more, let's worry about this kind of thing. And that's specifically because, you know, we've asked for funds for an ASL interpreter and how that will affect things in the coming year. And so I think there's more to come with that. I don't have all the info there, but to think about us specifically planning for the future. And so Daniela actually shared kind of a budget for all of us to take a look at. I don't know if everyone's had a chance to do that yet, but the idea would be hopefully tonight for us to start to think about like, what do we feel like would make the most sense for us and actually put something together for the coming year so that we know what to sort of actually plan for and spend at each event. Daniela, do you have that readily available? Do you think that's something that you could share with us? Like if I gave you the share screen?
Yeah, I think
Great.
so. Come on. I just want to zoom in, but okay, I'll share and then you can tell me how tiny it is.
Great.
Where is Okay, so what I did was took a look at and Sherry Delton helped with this tremendously. So basically we start off with $1,000. This is just from the town, not our revolving. So of the town's money that we get from the town councilors, we start off with 1,000 and then we spend and then it turns pink when we go negative. So we, in the fiscal year of 2022, up until at least July, we spent already $2,415. And last year, we spent approximately around the same amount. This year, we, rightfully so, we're revolutionizing every event that we're doing. We're making things more inclusive, more accessible. We're really stepping it up. I mean, this is a new commission and we're all kind of paving the way for this. What is this, year 6, I believe, or we're going on year 6. So what we are learning is that what we do, which, and it says in our sort of statement on the government website, that we create these sort of events and learnings for our community, and that is not always free. In order to truly engage people, it costs money. So with that in mind, I would like to propose us to ask the town council, by using the data that we have accumulated over the last few years, and can specifically state, what events that we're putting on, most of which I believe most of the town councilors have actually attended. So they are very well aware of what the events are and they consist of, that we increase from the 1,000 to 3,000, because yes, we may spend 2,400 or 2,200, but if we have 3,000 and some more room, then it allows us to just be able to operate without having to go into the red, and who knows how much financial back work that does on the town administrators. And if we don't use it, it doesn't go anywhere. That it's still the town. So there is no really harm that I see from them allotting us a budget that's bigger. That doesn't mean necessarily that we're going to spend it all, but it does give us support for growth and to develop our future events, especially if we begin to partner with other towns. That may not cost as much, or it will be different costs that we're not used to because they aren't in our town. So we'd have to figure that out. When you scroll down, these are just the latest reports as of September. And so that pretty much just kind of states like what's going on there. But this is what has been happening. And I think we have potentially other reports attached to the email. I don't know where the email went. That's where I got this. Okay, maybe it's here. But yeah, so with that in mind, the worst that they could say is no, and then we still have $1,000, and then we just do whatever we've been doing, which is not worry or ask for more money every time. We are volunteers, and it's a lot of work on us to not just give 1 hour. That's funny. Not just give 2 to 3 hours once a month, but then there are subcommittees that have to meet approximately 4 hours a month, if not more, plus the time it takes for us to go to these events, to be there, to be present. There's a lot of work involved, and if finances is one less thing that we get to worry about, the better. And especially where it'd be easier if we did not have to put our own money on the line and then turn around and get reimbursed. If we had it already, if the town can cut the check, then it's a little bit more seamless. It's a little tricky, I think, when we're trying to buy things off of the internet. I'm not quite sure how else we would do that. Maybe that's something we could talk to Sherry about. We just say, this is what I want to buy from where, and can you do it? I don't know. But yes, so that.
I'd like to make one suggestion on this particular document. If you could somehow, in addition to just telling who got reimbursed, doesn't necessarily tell us what event that reimbursement was tied to. If we could attach, and I know this is the problem with the reports that we get, they never specify which event is being funded. And if we could put that information in, it would be also very helpful. So they can see the wide range of things that we're doing, all the different events that we're doing.
Sure.
I don't
If
know
you're
that Daniela, sorry to jump in on that, Daniela, but I don't think that Daniela was given that. Were
No,
you?
no, I wasn't. I mean, this is all the information that I was given, but if you see your name on here, feel free to open up the document, add a column, and then put what event that was. I mean, here, my stuff was, for whatever reason, itemized. I think this is because we started that trend of when we submit to Sherry, we have that spreadsheet that Sherry Oken had made, and we keep that updated. And so it just, then Sherry got that detail. I don't know if Sherry even got that. So that's probably why, when we got this breakdown, we didn't get exactly, but you have dates. So here we can kind of assume, it's not fantastic to assume, but like, a lot of stuff here is probably Pride, and then Juneteenth, and then, I'm not quite sure who that is. And yeah, so I don't think it's necessary for us to waste our energy if it's too much, because the town council, unless they ask us how much is per event, then we don't need this data. What we need is, this is what we spent on all the events in total. Now, if someone else wants to really do the breakdown, we could just add a column, and then we can put in, if your name's on here, just put in what event it was for. But I do not foresee the town council being like, how much was Pride? How much was Juneteenth? How much was,
I think it would be helpful though, Daniela, going forward for us, and maybe this is something we vote on, but for us to make a decision about how much we want to spend out of, like, if we get approval for $3,000 and we have, I was just writing them down. We have MLK, Pride, AAPI, Hispanic Heritage Month, Juneteenth, Native American Heritage Month, that's 6. If we are, spending $500 every event, that brings us right to the 3,000. So
And there's
we
more
know
than
we're
that,
going in
too.
with that. Say it again,
There's
Benny.
International Women's Day. There's Black
IWC.
History
Hispanic
Month.
heritage.
Yeah.
Yep, I said that.
Yeah. What I have to say that every time that I have requested a reimbursement, and you can see they're fairly small, I've always indicated exactly what it was for. So it's kind of, I don't understand why that doesn't show up on their records too. I've always said, this is for AP, the particular event. I've always specified.
Yeah. So we
And-
can talk and ask them. I mean, that's an easy thing for us to do if we feel like we want to do that. So,
And
what does everyone think about like that total amount, that $3,000, kind of moving forward? Is that right? Do you feel like it should be less or more? What do you all think?
Well,
Go ahead, Sherry.
$3,000 would definitely give us a lot of breathing room. I don't think we can necessarily predict how much we're going to spend for each event in advance, because the events change. They're not always the same. like when we did the first Hispanic Heritage, Veronica, and it's Robles, it's ROBLES, was $1,000. But this year, I actually requested a payment of $400. Now I'm trying to remember what it was for the dance instructors, and I don't even see that on here.
When was it?
It was, that's right, because it was fall 2022, so that's why it's not on here yet. Okay.
That's
but-
even more money. That's so then that are you saying that we're close to 2,800 then, or did that come out of a revolving?
Wait.
So we're in a new fiscal year now.
Right.
Right. And what I did is I asked Steve before we even spent it, to spend $40 on the dance instruction. Fortunately, this time, musicians were very generous and they did not charge us.
Right. But
Is it
Veronica,
unreasonable? Sorry, go ahead, Teresa.
no, I was just gonna say that for Veronica, it does say 1,000, but we did get $1,000 donation for it. So I don't know where that goes or how that shows up.
Yeah, that didn't come out of our general fund. It came out of a donation.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, I think there is value in each time we spend money. If we even just have a running list ourselves on a spreadsheet of how much we're spending for a particular event, and it can, you can divide it up into entertainment, materials, personnel, whatever it is. I mean, I think we really need to ourselves have that information.
We do, Sherry. We do. It's a little delayed. Some people, may not have sent me or CC'd me when they, like, I don't know if I was on your email to Sherry, for example. I could have been, but I need to put it all in one document. I have it somewhat updated, and then I know that I have one that I just got from Benny that I wanted to pull up as a example. So people, at least if they're watching this later, or if they haven't done this before, you can kind of see what it looks like. So
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I've sent it to you like 1 year late, basically.
But it helps, right? So it has us, the amount, what exactly it was purchased. If, say, for example, I think like the buttons were a good example. I think Sherry had pointed out, like, it would have been great to know who we used it before, so that way we could go back to it again. So like, where exactly are we getting it from? This is just to note in case, I guess, if we have any questions or whatnot, would be good to see if we can start getting a trend of having the invoices taken care of for us. And then just, I guess, to detail, make sure, this is the financial report that we'll see it being hit on, or at least the one afterwards. So it does still help because you can kind of see what event it is for.
So in the case of Veronica, to Teresa's point, if that was a donation, right, that would sort of clear itself out. Is it unreasonable for us to set a limit for every event to say, like, typically we spend about $500 per event, and then we stick to that? And then if for some reason we need to do something above $500 and we don't have the money for it, we either somehow obtain the donation or we reach out to Daniela and Sherry Dalton and say, we're looking to do this, right? We include Maureen, obviously. We're looking to spend this kind of money. It's sort of outside of our typical $500 per event. We approve it either in our meeting or Sherry Dalton helps us get it approved. I think if we could get a little more specific with, we're going to spend $500 per event, then we can justify asking for 3,000 or 3,500, right? Because I didn't include IWD, so sorry about that. 3,500 per event. This is what we typically do every year, and this is our plan. I think that the past is great, but I think if we can put together a plan to share with them to say, like, this is typically what we do, but now we're doing more than we have. And Maureen agrees. We've talked with her about this, more than we ever have before. I mean, you think about Juneteenth. We have Juneteenth We do like 3 events in Pride. We did 3 events in the Native American Heritage Month. We have IWD. MLK is a really big event for the town. I think if we knew going into those conversations that this is what we're going to spend, then it would certainly be a little bit easier, and then we can work within it.
Also, I'm looking at this and remember that 2020, 2021, and part of 2022 were not typical years because we couldn't do live.
Right.
Yeah,
And now
so,
we can.
yeah, so actually, when we start having live, it costs more money.
Right.
And we haven't had an MLK major event in the last 2 years.
Yeah. That's great.
And I miss
Thanks,
it. I
Ray.
hope we are going to have it again.
Benny, I can see you raise your hand.
So I have some questions about saying that we will spend $500 per event. I don't know. Part of me is like, yeah, but we don't actually spend $500 on all the events. Like Juneteenth is $300 and other events are like $1,000, you know, so. And I think it's like normal and fine to have that variability from one to the other. So I don't know. I just wonder if it's entirely necessary to say how much we would spend per event, but on average, like to say like we anticipate spending an average of like what sort of what averages out to $500 an event. I feel like that's fine, but I don't want to sort of I don't know, get too fine grained about it.
I like that idea. I mean, I think if you're saying average and we're rolling it into a bigger event the following month or whatever it is, that makes a lot of sense.
And some are month-long commemorations and some are one day. Like I don't see necessarily the need to spend $500 for one International Women's Day event. And, you know, it's the same thing for, you know, if you do a lot of online things, it really doesn't cost you $500. And of course, last year, even for the Asian Pacific Islanders, other than making some materials, we got donations of things to display, and we had donations of performances that were from community members. We got community members involved, which made it even more enjoyable to see these members of the community helping us. And that didn't cost anything. And the AmeriCal doesn't cost anything.
Right. Teresa, go ahead.
Yep. No, I was just gonna say, but I think it's good to have a number because at least for the events like the Hispanic Heritage Month, I know when we did that back in 2021, it was almost like we didn't really have any money, or we had very little money at the time that we kind of had to figure out that we were gonna do an event. So I think that puts a lot of pressure on the people trying to organize an event when we don't know what we're working with. And I think this year, if we were going to have $500, that wouldn't have covered the event anyways. I mean, it would have covered the dancers, but not the musicians. So I think maybe having the budget ahead of time, or at least knowing that you have the money, then you can plan of it. Like, okay, we can have music, or we can only get volunteers to play, you know, volunteers to dance. Like I think it gives you a better sense. I think not knowing, and I think at least for me, or the 2 times that I've been a part of the group organizing it, it's kind of been like kind of a nerve-wracking on trying to come up with things when we don't know what we're working with. And obviously everything costs money, right? Even though we didn't have an MLK event, we still gave coffee, we still gave, you know, we still did things, we printed certificates, we did all that stuff that, I mean, it adds up, right? And it's not there, but it's just something that we do anyway. So I think I would really like to know that there's something there for it, at least to start off. But that's just my thought.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
As I'm listening to this, I'm feeling really uncomfortable with something, and that is specifically that we haven't spent a lot of money on our MLK Day event recently. We We don't spend a huge amount on Juneteenth. We don't spend a lot on AAPI month. Hispanic Heritage Month seems to be an outlier in that. And I wonder if having a budget would help us be more mindful of where our majority privileges lie for many of us, because it sounds like we are spending a lot less money on events that support and amplify BIPOC voices in our community, and that does not feel good to me. And if it doesn't feel good to me as a white person, it probably doesn't feel good to a lot of other people as well. And it may result in having these really tiny events that celebrate BIPOC folks in our community and these really big events that make space for white folks in our community.
It's a good point. Go ahead, Teresa.
Just going to add that for the Hispanic Heritage Month, it was donations that we used to do the events. We didn't have $1,000 that we used for that event. We actually didn't have the money, and we got a donation to be able to run it, because without that, we wouldn't have had an event at all. And I think what made it a big event, it was that we were able to get the mariachi band for the $1,000, and then the other people that danced and did all the performers for free. They didn't charge, and the library obviously didn't charge. MLK event this year, actually, I paid out of pocket for all this stuff, so that's why it's not included in the budget. So I think you'll see stuff like that. And the musicians this year, we only spent $200 for the dancers, but the musicians were also a donation. That was $500. So I think it's that kind of stuff that it's not reflecting on the sheet that we're looking at right now. And I think maybe that's the issue, right?
And those donations, were they made directly to like the mariachi band and directly to?
Yeah, the
So
donation
that's
that, yeah. So I think the $1,000 went to the human rights, but for that event specifically.
Oh, okay.
Because it was our first time doing it in the town. We had never done it before. And that's kind of how that got started.
It was an earmarked donation. The thing that we have to consider, and actually we did do considerable amounts of things for Juneteenth this year, very appropriate things. I think what's important is not the dollar amount, but the appropriateness of the celebration. The things that are more solemn, we've had flag raisings and ceremonies, and those have not been inexpensive. We have spent money on those, and we have had major events. Last June, we certainly did celebrate Juneteenth in I think a major way, between the ceremony, the flag raising, and then the concert that we had, which actually that wasn't for Juneteenth. I'm sorry, that was for Pride Month. But
that's what she's saying is a 2/5. Like that's what Elizabeth is saying. Like it's only like all that only costs $250. So I see what she's saying.
Yeah. But I think what we have to do is think about the appropriateness of the type of events that we have for the commemoration. And you can do a very appropriate commemoration without spending a whole lot of money and not shortchanging any particular group of people, any particular segment of the population.
Sorry to cut you off, Sherry. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
I really have to disagree with that. I think we need to look far more closely at where we are spending our money. It sounds good to be able to say, look, we can do a lot with a little, but that is what we have done as a country for 400 years. And that has put us exactly where we are, which makes us feel good about spending a huge amount of money on a Pride concert that amplifies a white voice, a white trans voice, yes, awesome, but a white voice, and says that something like Juneteenth, look, we did so much and we spent so little. Folks, Juneteenth is massive. This is the date that people learned about the freedom that they should have already had. That should be way, way more important than a flag and $300. We don't call things important in ways that reflect what they actually are in their communities. We call them important by our own perspective. And I think that our perspective sometimes makes us miss some things.
I also think if we're going into that subcommittee knowing that we're probably going to spend on average the same amount that we spend in other, you know what I mean? Then we know for Juneteenth, we're going to spend the $500 for Hispanic Heritage Month. We're going to spend the $500. And if we, you know, we receive a donation for something that's a totally different story, we want to make sure that we itemize that, of course. But if we know going into it, I mean, even for the AAPI event, Sherry, if you knew that you had $500, right, or an average of $500, then maybe there would have been something that we could have done that was not to play down the event. It was a fantastic event. But there could have been maybe something more that we could have even done. So, all right. Thank you all for going through all of this. I think it's important. And so I'm not sure what the vote is. Is the vote for us to propose a $3,000 annual budget for the Human Rights Commission for 2022 to 2023 with the town council? I think that sounds right. Does anyone want to make that motion, or did I just do that? And can I just do that? I don't even know. Did I just do that?
You can't as chair.
All right, fine. Does someone else want to do it?
Wait, I want to recognize that Jen had a hand up for
Oh,
a
I'm
minute.
so sorry.
I know
Go
we're about to do a vote, but I'm just curious to hear what you had to say about that from your
ahead,
perspective.
Jen.
Sorry, I didn't know if it was okay for me to comment. I was just gonna say, this is a lot of the challenges we're going through too, especially moving from virtual events to in-person events, and most of our commission is new, so we haven't been to a lot of in-person events and don't know what the budgets were. I just wanted to let you know that I just received an email from the Mass Cultural Council about a grant that's deadline is December 15th, in case you guys were interested. I know we just applied for a couple, so I just wanted to let you know. I just learned of it.
Thanks, Jen. I think Benny may have just submitted that, right? Was it you, Benny, or was it Sherry?
Sounds like it's a different grant, probably.
I did. I submitted a grant application.
Okay, that's great.
I haven't heard a word. I just said they've received it.
All right, well, that's good.
I asked for
We're
the
one step
moon.
closer. And Jen, if we see other grants come through and then you as well, you know, we can forward them along and send them along to us too. And we'll.
Thank you. That would be great. This is a new one that I hadn't seen before. It's called the Festivals and Projects Grant Program. We didn't submit anything for this one, but I did just learn of it. And so if you're looking for something else, looks like it's up to $2,500 per project with a new deadline for December.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Who wants to make a motion to increase our budget or to request that we increase our budget to $3,000?
Well, I had a question.
Me too.
Should we include the fact that we have things that were sort of like donated to us? Like if dancers would have been $300, then we should account for $300 just because they donated that this year doesn't mean we're going to get that next year. And so this definitely doesn't account for that. And so I'd even wonder if asking for 3,000 is enough. But I mean, I'll go with 3,000 if they want the numbers. Sherry Dalton herself was the one who pulled them, so she knows them. So it's not like we're coming out of the left field here, but
Yeah. Okay.
just wondering if we include that or not.
Sure.
And my question, oh, I'm sorry, were you gonna answer, Eileen? I'm sorry.
I was going to call on you.
My question is for Veronica Robles, since it was that 1,000 was donated, should that 51 and on down not be in red because that did not detract from our funds? And then my second one is for the Juneteenth, even though it was virtual, we did get a donation for maybe it was $400 from the BSU for the dance performance. I don't know if it needs to be indicated in there or not. I'm not sure. So
I think what's there is just giving us a sense of how much things cost if we have to pay for them out of our funds. And I think that's really the reason we're having this discussion is just getting a sense of how much things cost if we have 100% have to pay for things out of our funds.
I have to say, it kills me that the Black Student Union made a donation to us for Juneteenth. I have to be honest, like, I feel like that should be something we do for them. It's
Well, what happened was this was for the MLK. What happened is someone made a donation to either us or them, right?
oh, okay.
And then they just decided to use that donation for the event. So
Oh, that's right.
it wasn't
Okay, I
like
remember
they,
now.
yeah.
Thank you. My heart was like, oh, okay, we just took money from students. Sorry, Elizabeth, go ahead.
Would you like a motion on the table?
Actually,
My
Elizabeth has had her
Okay.
hand up.
my inclination would be to include money that we spend that is through gifts, because I think that gives a full and accurate picture of the money that we spend.
Right.
What's true if we don't get donations and we don't have money to work with is that our events have to change. And we can say that we will continue to pursue these financial gifts that we have received. We need the town to step it up too, so that we can do the part that we're doing at the level that we're doing and continue to ask for the donations or reach out in the places that we've reached out in the past. But I think that it might be helpful for folks on town council to see this really full picture of we are getting also these direct gifts that are actually letting us do a lot more. What's true is that our events are costing a lot. Some of our events are costing a lot more than what we are spending. And that's not reflected in our budget. But like, if we don't even have $500 to start with, like, it doesn't help to get a full $1,000 donation for something else if we can't do the smaller pieces as well.
So that being said, should we take a look at the donations and sort of regroup on how much we want to ask for so that we have a better view? Or do you feel comfortable increasing the amount right now? Like, where do we feel like the next steps are?
I mean, I think our ask is good. I just think that if we're able to, giving a fuller picture of what we are already doing is useful.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe we could say that, you know, when we ask for 3,000 instead of 1,000, we could say that we are able to operate with that because we have been getting approximately $1,000 a year in donations. And maybe, I mean, oh yeah, Maureen's not here. Maybe someone will be like, well, what if we just give them 4,000? Maybe someone will be in a great mood. It won't happen, but you know, it at least paints the picture, the full picture for them. And if we need to come back next year and say, sorry, we overspent, we didn't get the donations, then that's a learning and we can give them those numbers and then we can adjust that accordingly.
I mean, does it make sense for us to go up to 3,500 and then they can always come down to 3,000 if it's not appropriate? 4,000 feels like a lot, but 3,500, it's 7 events a year. Right?
Yeah, and I think if we
This way.
say the actual cost of those events, if the performances had not been donated and if we hadn't received donations and grants, would have been like $5,000. We're asking for 3,500. Because if it's $1,000 of a gift for, what do you call it, for Hispanic Heritage Month, plus $300 worth of gifted performance on the part of the dancers, plus a $500 grant from the Mass Cultural Commission, plus
MLK was 238.
MLK, and the $400 donation that was made to us, like jointly with the BSU. That's like $2,500 worth of donations plus the actual cost that came out of our budget.
Yeah, for instance, Hispanic Heritage, the dancers, because their price came down because I asked them. But our wonderful musicians would have cost us like $500. And then the only other cost I had is I had to rent a microphone, a particular kind of microphone, so that the music would work well with the dance instruction. So it's actually, when you think about it, that event was getting pretty close to, and like I said, that was an event that we felt was appropriate for the group that we were celebrating and commemorating. And it ran close to $1,000 if we had to pay for it all ourselves.
Yeah. All right, so why don't we do that? I think we put together a request for 3,500. And we can sort of draft something to talk about, to Benny's point, that it being on average. And then I think itemizing events going forward, I think we need to just be better about making sure that we're including Daniela and Sherry Dalton on it. So Daniela can start keeping kind of track of like whatever it is on those subcommittees. And this is a little bit of a segue into subcommittees, but I think that with the subcommittees, maybe that means that one person potentially, and maybe you decide within each subcommittee, that person kind of helps keep track of specifically what the money is and where it's going out, and including Daniela on that conversation. You know, I think the other thing, and this isn't really connected to budgets, but more about sort of volunteering, I think it would be great for all of us to start thinking about how we can get more volunteers involved in events. Because I do think it tends to be sort of the same number of us, you know, attending those subcommittees and attending those events the day of. And if there's a way for us to start to, I don't know, recruit from the community in some way, I think that that would be really helpful. I'm thrilled to have Jess at this meeting, because when we talked last week, she was like, I'm there, I'm happy to help. And I think if we could get more people involved in those subcommittees, I think the burden would be less for everybody.
And I totally agree with you. I think I hear people when they come to the event say, oh, I wish I would have known. But I don't know if people say that just because they know that they don't have the time to commit. But how do we get more people from the community to know about this stuff? Honestly, I don't know. I've been trying. I know I've reached out to people like directly, be like, hey, we're having this meeting, come and join. But still,
So
I don't think I've been that successful.
What if we did, you know, that email that I was sending out? What if it's like a little bit of like a we need you kind of a thing?
Yes.
For the MLK event, right? That's our next event coming up, and I can send that out in the next week or so, if that makes sense, where we can include the organizations that we talked about today. We can include the list of events that we've been involved in, and maybe like the links to some of the YouTube stuff so that people can see it. And then we can ask directly for volunteers for Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King event, and see what we get. There were definitely people went over the summer when we were dropping off signs. People are saying, I want to get more involved. So Teresa, to your point, they say it. Now we just have to call them and say, come on, let's do it. So we could start there.
I think that is besides just announcing what we're doing, the perfect use for our growing email list. And we have been building it. Eileen, what is it up to now?
Oh gosh,
50
like
people?
75 people. It's
75. Okay, and if we even got a small percentage of those 75 people to, the fact that they even put their name on the list indicates they have interest. Right. And I know from going to all the different events we had in October that almost everybody that I spoke to was interested in doing something, a tiny task, something.
Yeah. I don't know who was first, Jess or Ashley?
Ashley was first, but I'm going to just say I'm going to drop off for now.
Okay.
So thank you so much.
Have a good night.
Good to meet you, Jessica.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Ashley.
You too.
Well, I'm president of National Honor Society at Wakefield High School. And we always need like opportunities for people to use volunteer hours because they need to like meet that fulfillment of 25 hours. So if there's ever like meetings, I don't know how it works with like people under 18 being able to go to these things, but even just with events like volunteering, like I would love for like younger people to come and help out, and being able like to have that like be like, oh, you come to this, like you'll get this fulfillment requirement for volunteer hours for National Honor Society would be kind of like a nice segue for people to come and join, maybe get some younger people involved.
Listen, I bet we could find 25 hours for a number of people. That is awesome, Ashley. Ashley, can you provide us with who runs NHS, like who's the teacher or whatever, and then I can reach out to them.
Yeah, definitely. I'll
Okay.
send you that email.
Okay, that's great. Okay, are we ready for a motion?
Okay. I'll make a motion. I make a motion that we draft a request to increase our 2022-2023 budget to $3,500 and include with that request a cost analysis of what we actually need to present our events.
Can I just amend that to say that this is a request for the fiscal year 2023 budget?
Yeah, I did say that.
We have a second.
I didn't catch the end of that.
Okay, at least I'm trying to write it down now because I spoke it and I didn't type it as I said it. Okay, I made a motion that we should request a 2022-2023 budget of $3,500. And with that request, include a cost analysis of what is involved in presenting our events.
Wait, so you said it again, Sherry. You said 2022, 2023, but what we're looking for is the fiscal year 2023 budget. That's not the same thing as 2022, 2023.
Oh, okay, because okay. Fiscal year 20, okay. So it should read then, we need to, and this is our treasurer will draft a request or our president.
You can say the chair and the treasurer.
Yeah, and the treasurer will draft a request for our fiscal year 2023 budget to be increased to $3,500. And with that request, we will provide a cost analysis of what a cost analysis for presenting our events.
Seconded.
I think I got all of it in there. Okay.
All right, let's, that sounds good. Let's vote. Sherry,
Yes.
Daniela,
Yes.
Benny,
Yes.
Nicole,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Ashley.
Yes.
Woohoo! All right, that's great. Good. Feels one step closer. Some updates. We had 2 board member applications. One was Jess, who attended the meeting tonight, and the other was Gatika Upmanu, and Gatika's actually been in Wakefield for 12 years, whereas Jess had only just moved here. And so honestly, that was sort of the deciding factor there. She and Gatika was nominated last night, so obviously she needs to go and be sworn in, and then she will start attending, which is great. Everyone saw her resume. And then assuming that we've got some people with their commissions ending in 2023, and so chances are Jess will probably reapply, and obviously she's been, I mean, for personal, I know what it's like to volunteer and then an opening happens and then you throw your hand up again. So, but at least we have a new volunteer, which is really nice.
I did reach out to our extraordinary Asian Pacific Islander volunteers, and both of them, active moms, said, we'll volunteer for that event, but right now we can't commit to the whole commission. But they are interested perhaps for the future when their kids are a little older and they have more free time.
Yeah, it's hard when you've got kids. It totally makes sense. Any updates for grant applications?
I haven't heard a word.
Okay,
All I know is that the grant application was completed and accepted on time. And with technical difficulties, believe me, it was not easy. They were having a lot of trouble with their website, and their application wasn't necessarily as clear as it could be, but I put in for $3,000. And I
Cool.
don't know if we'll get anything, but I figured go big and see what happens.
I will say, Sherry, I looked back at the award letter from last year and we got the award letter, I think in January. So
Okay.
maybe that's just at least something to structure our thinking about when we might hear back.
that's great. Okay. Upcoming subcommittees, Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King. Any volunteers for that?
I have a quick question because I remember you sent an email or someone did about possibly joining with Reading for their
Yeah.
event.
Mhm.
I know that, like I said before, like my capacity, I don't have the capacity right now to do that, but I wouldn't mind partnering with them and working on it with them. Or if someone here wants to be the lead, as Teresa always is the lead. If someone else, I don't mind like partnering, but I can't, you know.
Jeremy,
No,
you've
that-
worked on
Oh yeah, Jeremy too.
CSK Day in the past.
I have worked
Are
on
you
it
interested in
the
doing it
last
again?
2 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I,
Yes. Does anyone have any indication or memory of how?
Wait,
it
Sherry, I was in the middle of
handled?
asking Jeremy a question. You
Oh, I'm
interrupted.
sorry.
so what was your further question, Benny? Other
My
than
question
yes, I
is,
have,
are you interested in being involved this year? Because you're one of our experts.
I definitely can be involved. I can tell you that as you probably noticed lately, my work schedule has prevented me from doing a bunch of the recent events. So I apologize for that. But I definitely would be interested in being.
Oh,
Oh, we just lost
you're
the end of
muted.
that.
You muted yourself.
Sorry, I muted myself saying that I would be interested in being on the subcommittee, but I'm not sure I can chair it. That's the only thing. So, but I'll definitely be on the subcommittee for sure.
Got it. I'm happy to chair it if we have a few volunteers. I think to Nicole's point, if we work with Reading and maybe even Melrose, it will potentially be less sort of stressful and large, and you know what I mean? Maybe there's a way for us to do it. However, historically in Wakefield, I mean, it's been an ongoing event. I think it was the first event that the HRC started doing. And so I would be a little worried about us taking it away completely. I don't know. What does everybody else think?
Can we host it here and then have them come?
I think
The
Melrose
Galvin?
also, I think that was their first event many
Oh.
years ago too. So
Maybe we can
I
take
think we're,
turns
yeah.
on where to host it.
Where to
you know?
host it, yeah.
Maybe this year could be at the Galvin. I know last year we tried to do it at the Galvin. It was kind of shut down at the
Yeah.
Yeah,
very
last minute.
Yeah.
which, is very disappointing. So I think if we could take turns hosting it, and then just thoughts on the events, even from last year. I know it would definitely help having somebody who's good at making some sort of graphic design or flyer or whatever. I know that's definitely my weakness. And last year and the year before that, I spent so much time doing that and I know it didn't even look right. So anything like that, if we have volunteers that are good at that stuff, that can jump in and say, I'll work on the graphics or I'll work on contacting the schools. I think splitting the work, it's less burdensome for the group. I think sometimes when you just have a small group, it's just, and everybody here knows this because everybody's been part of it. So I'm just talking to like everybody who knows. But I think if we get, I don't know, if people from the community, people know somebody who's really good at certain things, just kind of pull those people in for that. They don't have to commit to all the meetings. And I think that's when people kind of feel hesitant because they don't want to, they don't have the hours, so they feel that it's going to be too much time. And I get it. But I think if we can just pull for different things and say, hey, can you just come up with a flyer? Or like the school, I know we have some artists in the high school. I know we have people that are really good at that stuff. Can we just say, hey, this is where we're going to do it. Can you just come up with a flyer? Can you reach out to the school? I know that Galvin has a lead, I think, that has worked on this event for a couple of years now. So I don't know. I just think like we need to be more, I think, smart, I guess, at the way that we're working, because it becomes really exhausting.
Yeah. So Reading, the woman's name in Reading, her name is Sudeshna. She's lovely. And for Martin Luther King Day, they have like a program that involves the schools and the clergy, and they have a keynote speaker and that kind of thing. And then she did talk about that they've done cultural food fests and things like that, and they've involved Woburn and Winchester too. So maybe it makes sense for, at least a call with, maybe we do Sudeshna. Jen, if you're interested or a member of your team is interested, we could start there.
So I haven't gotten to go in person to our MLK Day event. My understanding, and we've just started planning it for this year, we're getting back to in person for the first time, is that we have a day of service for the entire day. And that really starts off at one of the local churches. And then in the evening, we have a potluck dinner and we try to get a speaker, and that ends at a different local church. So I don't know if it would be something easy to partner with for that, but maybe we could partner on another aspect. I think we try to usually do something over the month too, with like a suggested reading list and good books that we try to get out. So that would be something we could easily partner with.
Okay, that's helpful.
Question?
Go ahead.
I have attended many of these in the past, and I don't know if anyone here has experience with how those were put together, how much of the work was done by the town itself and how much was done by the HRC. They were always wonderful events, and they were, very moving, and there was a lot of thoughts to them. But does anyone here have that kind
It
of
was all the
memory?
HRC. That's always
Was it
been
all?
an HRC event.
Okay, it was all
Well,
the
no,
HRC.
but I don't know that that's true. It's ever since the HRC has existed, I'm pretty sure the HRC has made that event happen. So like 7 years or whatever it is.
Okay.
So if there were MLK days prior to that, then I don't know who was responsible for those.
I talked to Bob Vincent last week, and he told me that the first MLK Day event was through the HRC. So whatever that was, 2016. Sorry, Elizabeth, what were you going to say?
This is just to return us to the flyers for Teresa or for anybody else. I have found subcommittee participation really challenging with my work schedule because I'm all over the place. But I can put together a flyer very quickly and easily. And I put together graphics on the regular, like every week, and have built flyers for my professional life in the past. So please, any subcommittee, if you're looking for flyers, I can do those easily and definitely commit to like producing those and pulling them together for us.
That would be awesome. You are now designated. I hereby designate you the forever flyer person.
I'll take it.
All right. I love it. Yeah,
I have another question. I think we also had an offer of help from, if we get hung up, from Jen McDonald at Town Hall with producing graphics.
Cool.
Does anyone else recall that?
No. I know you give them whatever you have and then she makes them. I know that I will love to see whatever graphics she makes, and maybe we use kind of like the same idea for ours. But I know that when I was working on it, it was just kind of like, send me what you have and I'll post it and I'll share it kind of thing.
I mean, I've done the same thing with the
Yeah.
groups, the things that
Yeah.
I've led up ahead of
Yeah.
them. But
But it
I
hasn't been
understand
like-
she is willing to provide some of her artistic abilities as well.
That's good to know.
So would it be helpful if I reached out to Sudeshna? Maybe we schedule, why don't I start with reaching out to Sudeshna? Let me figure out what that's all about. And then I can share that with Nicole, Teresa, and Jeremy. Is that cool with the three of you?
Yep.
And then the four of us can kind of figure out what we want to do next. I know that we can't necessarily make decisions by email as a group. But I can always reach out to you, I think, to get your opinions. And then if we need to pull as a team together, even if it's like a 20-minute phone call, we could do that too. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to be honest, I definitely, I struggle sometimes when we're on subcommittees too, to Elizabeth's point and Jeremy's point, and we're all like full-time working people. And there are even sometimes when I've like scheduled it at like a lunch hour to be like, I've got 20 minutes and I can call this person, you know, in 20 minutes. And it's not always convenient, but sometimes it works, but I totally get it. And I think getting some new volunteers and more people to help, I think will be helpful for all of us. It's been a year. It's been a year, right? But also to Maureen's point, like we should be so proud of all the things that we did this year because it was a lot. So congratulations to us. All right, we'll move on from there. Any matters not in, oh, go ahead, Daniela.
Just to keep in mind, you know, when the subcommittees meet, you know, you could like CC me. It's optional if you think it's helpful. I don't know if I really need to be a part of the sausage making so much, but it could perhaps inspire something if you want posts on our social media. It does go on Facebook, but it also feeds into our government website. So I did some things for, what did I do it for? I did stuff recently. Last week was quite the week. So my brain's not fully here. And but yeah, so like Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King. So that's where I'm just kind of thinking like the gears are turning, but it's like, what do we want? Do we want some music? Do we want some media to be shared? You know, any movies? So things that, you know, can sort of like move forward on the education process. But yeah, so just let me know if it's easier for me to try to go to those meetings or read the notes, or someone will just message me afterwards and be like, hey, this is stuff. And then I can just take it and run with it. That's what I can do, is just, you know, give me something, a landing, a jumping point, and then I'll take it from there.
Maybe at the end of the subcommittee, the first one, we email you, Daniela, with if we have a financial update and a Facebook update, and then we email Elizabeth with what we want in the flyer.
Yeah, and you could always like keep us looped in together, because when Elizabeth has the flyer, I can then use that for the Facebook event.
Yeah,
Cool.
and I can format so that we have one that is built for Facebook and one that is built for printing. And it's really easy to like do two separate ones with the software that I use.
That's awesome. Thank you. All right. Matters not anticipated. Go ahead, Sherry.
I know it might seem very early, but in March, we have our International Women's Day, and I've started thinking about it. I'd like to be involved again. And actually, I was actually congratulating Saratine Rizzuto on an award she got, and told her what a concept that I had that I was going to run by this particular group. And she loved it. She said, count me in, I'll help. So got one volunteer, and here's the concept. it would involve women of different generations and an academic who has a specialty in women's studies discussing the state of feminism today, in today's world.
I
We
feel like
haven't
you've
addressed that
volunteered
before.
to be- I feel like you've just volunteered to be the chair of the IWD and you now have a full plan. Done. Sherry, it's yours. Good job.
Well, no, I want to make sure that you're comfortable with that. It's a term that has been bandied around in a negative and a positive way over the years. And I think I know my husband thinks it's a point of pride to call himself a feminist. So, but other people don't think that way. So that's why I thought it would be an interesting discussion to have if we had, like I said, women of different generations, plus an academic who could give us some more background in a factual way. Input.
I think it's a great idea. What is the theme for IWD this year?
I actually haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
And I probably should look at it before I go jumping ahead. But I mean, just this came to me one early morning when I got up too early. So
Can we,
go
can
ahead.
we expand that to include womanists?
I don't know that term. WOMANIST.
Correct.
Can you explain that to me, please?
So womanist is a term that comes from Black women. It is an intentionally intersectional term. I cannot remember off the top of my head who coined it, but it is not new. It is 40 years old. And I think that an intentional inclusion both invites our feminism to be intersectional and recognizes that we know that there are a lot of different ways to put women, or in general, people who are not cis men, at the forefront.
Yeah, I was going to say something not necessarily about womanism, but just to say, I think this is a cool idea as long as it does not turn into a panel of a multi-generational white ladies. Like, I think that would be kind of gross, I think. So,
Yeah,
but if we have like, yeah, I think in addition to how feminism has changed over the generations, another like layer to it that would make an amazing panel is like how feminism looks in different communities and different spaces. Like, what does Muslim feminism look like? What does Black feminism look like? Not to say that there's like bright lines dividing these different communities, but that like feminism does like look different ways in different communities and has different histories and different different stuff to consider. So,
and I was right. It comes from Alice Walker. I had a moment where I was like, oh my gosh, was that Alice Walker? Yes. So womanism comes from Alice Walker. And it names really that putting women first and amplifying women's voices looks different in Black communities than it does in white communities.
Go ahead, Jen.
I just want to say, I think that sounds like a great idea, Sherry. And I don't think that the Melrose HRC, to my knowledge, has anything planned yet for International Women's Month. So if this is something you guys would be interested in, collaborating, I can bring that to our group at our December meeting.
That's great.
I think we should definitely collaborate on all things.
100%. All right. Thank you, Sherry. This is fantastic. Anything else?
I did not anticipate how great you all are. Thanks for being in this meeting.
I also want to just say I went to the Woodville did a day of, oh my gosh, I can't even remember the name. I'm telling you, my brain is completely fried. they had all these different various cultures represented at the Woodville School today. And it was crowded to capacity. The little kids were up there doing dances from their, or some sort of representation from their culture or their family's culture. And it was very nice. So, you know, people are, well, I know the Woodville is really like trying to just amplify that. And then last week also at the Galvin, they did a big human service event for English as a second language. And that also was very full. They had a nice, they talked about the food pantry in different languages. They had tons of handouts. They talked about immigration, and it was really good. The ESL teacher from the Woodville and the counselor from the Galvin put it together with Catherine Dingra, and it was very good. So just so you know.
Nicole, that's awesome that I want to say it was the PTA
Yeah, the
there
PTO,
from
right,
the
right.
Woodville reached out to, I think, to try and collaborate with things for the future.
Mm.
And so I just responded back saying, yeah, I don't,
Obviously,
what do you want to
yes,
do?
right.
But I haven't heard back yet, but yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Anything else? What does everyone feel about meeting in December?
I think for MLK, we have to, right?
Yeah, we can, maybe the subcommittee can, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think we can skip that.
Should we do a formal meeting in December? Do you feel like we need it?
Even, I mean, I do think it's hard to plan an entire event of that scale without having an opportunity to
Yeah,
touch base with the full commission if there's any decisions we have to make and stuff.
yeah.
Okay.
So the third Tuesday would be
What's
the
the-
20th.
Yeah,
20th.
Yeah.
maybe it's like abbreviated, like a 20-minute. And if it's not needed, like if the subcommittee is like, no, we're good for now, then we can just call it.
So why don't we plan for the 20th?
All right.
Danielle, we may have a budget update at that point too, like, and then we can share an MLK update and we can keep it under an hour. We can do it.
Yeah, I think we definitely need the meeting because there's no other meeting before June or January 17th or whatever, when the MLK is. So we're
Good.
gonna need it. And one more thing around the MLK, just remember over the last 2 years that school becomes very short between Thanksgiving and Christmas and the New Year. So if you want projects from students and stuff,
All right.
you know, we as a committee need to get on them quick. Because there's not a lot of time when they get back to school to like push it. So,
Yep.
But yeah.
Point.
Okay.
All right, so we're having a meeting.
Done. Okay, let's review. Sherry, can you review the action list?
I'm not sure. I'll try. Let's see. Okay. Scrolling down. Actually, the one really big item is the draft that Eileen and Daniela will prepare for our increased budget in fiscal year 2023. Let's see what else. That was the one really big item. I mean, also Eileen is going to, and I don't know how to spell her name, is going to reach out to Subeshna.
Yep.
I put Subeshna.
It's SUD like dog, ESHNA.
DESHNA. Oh, the only letter I got. SUDESHNA. I got one letter wrong. Okay. And all are to be sure to send material to Daniela for our social media when anything at all can be posted. Reverend Elizabeth is going to put together the flyer once we have more details for MLK commemoration. Let's see. And Jeremy is interested in being on that committee. It's not an actual formal to do. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, I am going to chair, but it's not, and oh, I know one very important thing. We're going to use our email list in order to recruit volunteers for each event, before the event, and indicate what kinds of things we need help with. Ashley is going to provide the contact person from the National Honor Society. So Eileen can contact that person. Or Eileen, if you want, I'll contact her, because since you have other things to do as well.
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay, so I'm going to change that to Sherry to contact. And let's see. I don't know if I'm forgetting anything, but I don't have other things on here.
Can everyone email me the names of the organizations that we talked about at the
That's
beginning
right.
of this meeting?
That's right. Okay. Let me put that in the right place. Okay. And when I'll put together the minutes, and I will make sure that I outline all of these things in red so they stand out for everybody. And just in case I think of something else that I forgot. I'm also a little mixed up today as well. This is busy time
Thanks,
for
Sherry.
me. Sorry for not being a little bit more present here. I know that I did not get, Nicole, you just provided us with a lot of information about activities that have recently occurred through the schools, and that the schools are interested in collaborating with the HOC in the future. I hope that just a note like that will be adequate. I didn't write down every single one of the activities. Okay, and we're going to hear back from Jen about collaborating on IWD in March, and I will check into the theme and see if we're in line with it, or how we can bend and twist so we will be in line with it. I thank you for your input, very helpful input on ways to make that a very good program, which likely will not cost us very much money, because I think we can have it at the school, at the high school, like we've had in the past. And other than maybe the specialist in women's studies, who might require a speaker's fee, but maybe not. I don't know if we'll have any other cost other than maybe some refreshments afterwards, because people always like to gather and talk after an event like that. So I thank you, Jen, for your input, Jen Champagne, for being here and wanting to collaborate with us.
Thank you, Sherry.
Okay.
Before we make a motion to adjourn, can we just all give Nicole Jacob a round of applause for running the New York City Marathon? I mean, it's like no big deal,
Yay.
but like what else?
Yeah. Did you see Julie Galvin in the lineup? Because she was running too.
Thanks. Yeah, we all went together.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh man, I live vicariously through you when I see that. I'm like, someday I'm gonna even walk more.
Thank you
All right,
all
well,
for having me.
Oh, thank you, Jen. Thanks for coming. We're super excited to work with you.
We are as
and your-
well. Thank
and
you,
your team.
everyone.
All right, who wants to make a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn this meeting at 8:44 p.m.
Second. I second.
All right, let's vote. Sherry,
Yes.
Daniela,
Yes.
Benny,
Yes.
Nicole,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
and me. Yay. Have a good night. Thanks, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Bye.